thank you for your service in government, Secretary Gates. I'm Amit Sharma, Empowerment Capital and former U.S. Treasury Department. I was intrigued by a statement you made earlier on the underinvestment or lack of investment in empowering agents, USAID and others. If you could comment on how do we reverse that trend? How do we look at strategic investments, not only within the part of the U.S. government, USAID, Exim Bank, OPIC, and other institutions, but also to enable commercial endeavors in areas of high risk, conflict, post-conflict, that can then complement our broader security and foreign policy objectives?
Well, it's fundamentally political. I mean, it's there's no thought behind it. It's just we don't want to fund those things. And everybody here knows that foreign aid is like a dirty word on Capitol Hill. And you know, if you characterize it as just shoveling money at foreign countries, then that's probably deserved. But I think we're a lot smarter than that. I think it's a vicious circle. I think presidents and OMB don't agree to increases in the State Department budget because they're convinced the Congress won't approve it. So why take money away from something else to add to the State Department numbers when the Congress will just take it away? It's a lot easier to put more money in a failing program in the Department of Defense than to give these guys anything. So I think what it requires is really some committed, visionary leadership in some key roles on Capitol Hill and a president with the courage of his convictions. Now, the State Department did get some significant budget increases, as I recall, during the Bush administration. And they were able to add some additional foreign service officers or so on. But, you know, as Condi Rice used to remind me, I have more people in military bands than she had in the Foreign Service. Or to put it in another way, if you took every Foreign Service officer in the world, you wouldn't have enough people to crew one aircraft carrier. So, you know, the disproportion in what's spent on the military and what's spent on the civilian side of the toolkit is vast, and that's easy to explain, but the reality is marginal investments on the civilian side could yield, in my view, disproportionate benefits. But it's going to require somebody on the Hill being willing to take some leadership and understand the importance of that.
In our digital world, how confident are you that we're able to secure our most important secrets, like Hayden sitting here in the front row?
Well, Mike may disagree with this, but I think we do a pretty good job of protecting the classified networks in the Defense Department. And we started a program where we extended that umbrella to defense contractors on a voluntary basis because they had to give us some information so that we could help protect their networks. I think that, and I'm in dangerous ground here because Mike was not only director of CIA but director of NSA, but I think we have the technical capabilities to protect ourselves, but the government and the private sector are completely wrapped around the axle in terms of figuring out how to make it happen. And it's not a partisan issue. It's one of the few issues that's not partisan. You've got Republicans that disagree with each other, Democrats that disagree with each other. You've got differences within the executive branch, both in the Bush administration and the Obama administration. You have major differences between private business or business and the government in terms of how much information business is willing to share. And the result is we're kind of nowhere. Now, I cut a deal in July of 2010 with Secretary of Homeland Security, Janet Napolitano, in the belief that, you know, a lot of Puritans, civil liberties and privacy Puritans say, well, we'll wait for a civilian NSA to be created, and that'll protect our networks. And my attitude is, ain't it ever going to happen. There isn't enough money, there isn't enough time, and there isn't enough human capital. So how do we use NSA to protect our domestic networks? So what Janet and I came up with was I allowed her to nominate and appoint a deputy director of NSA who would have his or her own general counsel and would have the authority to task NSA real time if there were a threat to domestic networks. We got the president to agree to this. We did it all in about 3 weeks. We ignored the rest of the bureaucracy. It goes to a point in the book. By ignoring the rest of the bureaucracy, we probably guaranteed failure. Because even though the president had approved it, the bureaucratic forces came back. As I like to say, we parted the bureaucratic waters momentarily. And it was only a few months before they closed back over again. And we're basically back where we started. But we have to figure out a way to arrive at some consensus in the government, both the executive branch and the Congress, and also the business community, before we're actually going to be able to use the tools that we have to protect our networks.
One last question, and if we